now,
Radio Cayman presents
The Business Buzz, an insightful and fresh take on a variety of issues that impact the local business environment. This is where we address the business topics that matter.
Radio Cayman's Business Buzz.
Here's your host,
Anita Khan.
Good morning. Welcome to the Business Buzz. It's a beautiful day on the outside. It's a beautiful Thursday. Susan? Saying good morning to our producer of the Business Buzz, Miss Susan Watson. Susan keeps me in check. She keeps my language in check, my clothes in check, just about everything. Thank you, Susan. And thanks to our sponsor this morning of the Business Buzz, Cayman Insurance Center. We have three wonderful women in the studio this morning. We'll be looking at and putting the spotlight on Cayman Drama Society's latest production of Blood Brothers. And I think they're blood sisters. Yes. With me here this morning. Joining us are Bex Robinson. Bex is the director of Blood Brothers. Laura Wallace, she is a musical director. And Suzi Dickson, who plays Mrs Johnston. Thank you, ladies, for popping by the studio this morning.
Thank you for having me. Yes, thank you.
You all look so just pumping and ready to go. Like, you have coffee cups? No wonder.
Yeah, we're exhausted.
No wonder.
The third coffee of the morning. We are ready to go.
So I see. Okay, so we have a musical director. That tells me this is a musical.
Yes, it is. This show is full of songs, both happy, sad, some involving adults playing children, some involving adults playing adults. There's something for everyone in there, I think.
And you are the musical director.
I am, yes. So
is this your first time directing a musical, a musical?
No, I have been doing this since I was probably about 16. I've worked with kids for years, and I did music at university, so I was on production teams doing musicals through there. I was in Cayman Drama Society's production of Grease with Bex.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I played Frenchie, and Bex was good old Rizzo.
The pink lady.
So, Suzi, where do you fit into all of this?
Well, goodness knows. So I basically have never been in any production, never really been on stage before, always been rather a dramatic character, always enjoyed my karaoke. Basically I'm not just a mum, I am a mum. Yeah. And so I sort of dedicated my time to that, really. And then I saw Blood Brothers, the musical, coming up, and I knew the musical. And I thought, just on a whim, I thought, why not? You know, my kids are getting a little bit older now. I'll audition, and lo and behold, look what happened. These two chose me to be Mrs Johnston, but I'm loving it, you know. So this is the first time, and the cast are fantastic, and we're just having the best time. We're working hard, but we're having the best time as well.
And Bex, this is your first time as a director?
No, I actually last time I directed was probably about 20 years ago. Ooh. Actually, no, that's a lie. I did direct a play and a patty in November. A friend rang up and said, would you mind directing just a little play that we're going to put on a Saturday?
And a patty?
It's called A Punch, I think,
Punch
and a patty.
Yeah.
And they were on a Saturday, they were going to have a lunchtime, sort of have a drink, have a patty and watch a half-hour play. So a friend rang up and said, would I mind directing that? But I haven't directed for about 20 years. I went to music college, went to acting college. In fact, I did a lot of operas. That was my main thing. So then coming here, again, having a lot of children and not doing anything but wanting to do something, lo and behold, was in Grease with Laura as Rizzo. And then in November, suddenly it was like, I've always wanted to do Blood Brothers, one of my favourite musicals, one of the first musicals I really had a passion about when I was about sort of 12 years old with a couple of friends. And I thought, this is it. And lo and behold, here we are.
Well, Blood Brothers, it's been playing across the globe, Japan, Korea, South Africa, places like Australia, even Turkey. And to add Cayman to that list of countries, that's awesome. Because I've never heard about Blood Brothers. I mean, I've seen movies similar plots and stuff like that, but never Blood Brothers. So let's talk about the setting and plot of Cayman Drama Society's Blood Brothers. How many acts are there in the play?
There are 2 acts. We've got Act 1 and Act 2. We've got 10 in our cast. So it's quite, I think it's actually, it
very
bonds well,
small,
because
yeah.
it bonds well because we have a little cast. We've got 3 people who auditioned for the ensemble, and they play lots of different small parts. I don't think they realised actually when they auditioned for the ensemble how many smaller parts that they would have. So they're on a lot, and they actually keep all those main actors going. Without them, you don't really have this whole musical. So actually that's been fantastic. The plot. Well, it's set in Liverpool. So we've had a few people with their fantastic Scouse accents. It's set in Liverpool, sort of the 1950s, 1960s. And during that time, Liverpool had a sort of baby boom, but also there wasn't that much money. There wasn't much money. A lot of people had no jobs. People were struggling. But you had the upper class who had the money, and you had the lower class people who had absolutely nothing. And there was a lot of single mothers who didn't just have 2 children, probably 6, 7 or 8. And so it's the story of this wonderful woman, Mrs Johnston, and her children. There she is, Mrs Johnston, this warm, loving, but very uneducated woman who works for Mrs Lyons, who's the upper class lady, who's a very kind lady at the start, but she seems to be on her own. Her husband works, is away a lot, and Mrs Johnston works for her, goes and cleans her house every day, and suddenly Mrs Johnston finds that she is pregnant, thinking that she's pregnant with 1 child. She can cope, and finds out she's pregnant with 2 twins. Mrs Lyons sadly can't have any children, and after a conversation she decides to ask her, why don't I have one of your children? Give one of them to me, she says. And we have this wonderful song and this interaction with these 2 characters, and in the end, of course, Mrs Johnston agrees. And then we have this whole story about these young boys living, one on the upper class side, one on the lower class side, meeting, becoming best friends and becoming blood brothers. And we see their journey from a 7-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 21-year-old, and what happens to them. And obviously there's a girl involved. Always a girl involved.
Always a girl.
Wonderful.
Has to be a girl.
We have this character Linda, who's a fantastic character, and we have been so lucky. We've got Cecilia, who is the drama teacher at Cayman Prep and High. She is our Linda. She's absolutely fantastic actress, fantastic character, fantastic person. So we've got all these different characters coming in. We also have somebody narrating the play or the musical. A very sort of sinister, slightly cool character. No one really knows what he's going to be like. He's a bit of a devilish character, predicting things, bringing us on this journey, sort of always right behind these characters, always saying things. And that's played by our lovely Adam Roberts, who has, I think he's been in quite a few productions. I think a lot of people will know who he is. He was our right person for the narrator. He's just got this sort of baritone, sinister voice. And so he keeps this musical going. I'm not going to give too much away. But that is that's our story.
I would like to know how it ended. I mean, does Mrs Johnston? No, you're not going to tell me. I know.
You'll have to come and see the show.
I'm just thinking out loud. I'm thinking out loud. You know,
Yeah.
It would Mrs Johnston? Would Mrs Johnston have her child back? Would she?
Well, you'll have
to come and watch it.
How long was the duration of the play, of the musical?
We have 12 shows, so it's a long run. 3 weekends, starting on the 25th of May and ending on the 10th of June. And the matinees are on the 10th, the 3rd of June, and the 28th of May. And then the rest of them are evening performances.
Okay, 25th to the 10th.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think on
good.
the 10th we
There's
do
2
2
shows,
performances,
yes.
don't we? So
We've
that's
got a
going to be
matinee
fun.
and then the final show in the evening.
Yeah.
What day is that? The 10th?
Saturday the 10th.
Yeah, that's the final day, and we do 2 performances on that day.
I always like the final show. Now, what is the duration of the play? 2 hours? Is that?
About 2.5, including the interval. Yeah.
And is this for a mature audience?
I think what we've sort of said as guidelines are there are a few swear words in it. There's a few adult themes.
But nothing
and there's
explicit.
Nothing sort of super rude, but there's also use of a gun in a couple of occasions. So I would definitely say maybe not bringing your 5-year-old to the show. But if you have a child who is really into musical theatre and is maybe 11, 12, I think that would be perfect. As long as, you know, they sort of understand going into it what they could expect to see. It's not one of those happy clappy musicals like Grease where you go in and everything's fine and you could bring anyone to it. You know, this one is a bit more, there's a lot of thinking sort of.
Mature, there's some mature themes.
Yeah.
And we do have mental illness brought into it as well. And obviously gun, a few swear words and things. So, yes, you've got to sort of read or look
11,
into
12.
it before you come if you want to bring a child.
Yeah.
But they also study this at some of the schools here.
Yes.
So Simon B, who plays our Mickey, one of the boys, who's absolutely... he's never been on stage.
He's never been on
Oh my
stage,
God.
and I can't believe it because he
Wait till you
is
see him.
phenomenal.
How old is he?
Simon B, he's a teacher.
He's a teacher. He might come across as being a 7-year-old. No, he teaches English up at Cayman Prep and High. but-
Okay.
Yes, but he came along, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh.
So what does it take to prepare for a production such as this? Let's say from your set design, lighting, actors, your stage hands, the whole shebang.
Yeah, as an actor in it, it's easy for us. I mean, these guys do all the hard work. They really, really do. And Bex never stops.
No, she doesn't.
Like, I've never seen anybody be a director and a prop person and a scenery person
And a set designer.
It's
yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
So yeah, over to you girls, because all I do is get up, you know, just go to the opera rehearsal and do some singing.
Have kids.
Yeah. I think it starts from the audition process, really. Bex approached me to ask if I wanted to do the musical directing, and I jumped at the chance because we hadn't done a musical together in 5 years. So that sort of, you have to think about, you look at the script and you think about how many actors you're going to need, how many ensemble members you're going to need, and then you start the audition process. We ran 2 weekends of auditions with callbacks, and those were long days because you're listening to people singing very similar songs for hours and hours and hours, and you have to make sure you can remember who was who and who sang what, and then you do the recalls so you get people to come in, re-audition for the final choices. Then Bex got to do all the calls for the people that got the parts, which was great. Your one was great, especially.
Mine was the best.
So what have you all enjoyed about this so far? You know, all the
Can I just
rehearsals
point
and
out,
everything.
yeah, just that, because Bex gave you an overview of the plot there, but what she missed out, Rebecca, was how funny this play is.
Oh, yeah.
That's like, you know, it's written by Willie Russell, who wrote Educating Rita, and what was the other
Our
one?
Day Out, he wrote.
Yeah, Shirley Valentine.
Shirley Valentine.
Yeah. And sort of the Liverpudlians are known for their sense of humour and their quick wit. That's sort of, you know, a well-known thing. And my goodness, does it come across in this musical? So there are some cracking lines, and and they keep coming. They keep coming. And when,
Very funny. It's very funny.
Very funny.
Very
It's
funny.
it's a funny, yet tragic and sad at the same time. So that for me has been the best part of this, is just laughing with the cast members over the lines and working out how we're going to deliver these lines. And we've just had the best time because it's such a very sad but funny musical as well. Like,
for sure.
That's been my favourite bit, just sort of reading through the script and working out how we're going to deliver it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's a cracking script. It's a beautiful script.
And the
Well,
music.
this was meant to be a school play, apparently.
Yeah, so it originated as a school
Originally,
play, and then Willie Russell added in the music afterwards, and that was when it then went on to the
I
West
saw. I
End.
had a quick look at this where Willie, he had his script. He had it in his head all the time, and he was walking along one day, kicked a stone or something, and within minutes, the entire thing came to him. Script, plot, just about everything. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I
So-
wish I could do that.
Make a fortune. And he's been very strict, hasn't he, Bex? He's strict with Willie, is very like on point. Like the narrator has to be a man, right?
Yeah, I think
And
they
things
like to
that.
keep it
He's
to the
very-
original from
keeps
the
it,
80s.
as much as possible.
You know, when you're doing a musical or a play, you have to keep to what the license has given you. You don't want to change anything, and you don't want to change anything because some of the lines are so fantastic. The music is just it's gorgeous.
It is gorgeous.
You know, really sad music and then really funny and happy music. So it's going to be think it'll be a good one. So yeah,
I
come
know
out
for-
and watch it.
I know for a
basically.
fact people will have the best night out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, ladies, we've got to take a quick break.
Yeah.
Thanks to our sponsor this morning on the Business Buzz, Cayman Insurance Center. We're talking about Cayman Drama Society's their latest production, Blood Brothers.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
William Eden, 1800 through 1879. The grandson of William Eden Sr., the builder of Pedro St. James, William Eden was the proprietor of William Eden and Sons Ship Owners. He was a lieutenant and acting adjutant in the Georgetown Militia. He was among the first elected vestrymen in the Cayman Islands, representing the Prospect area. He served the island as custos from 1855 until his death in 1879.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
The Rotary Sunrise Audi Raffle Saturday, this Saturday, April 29th. Drive away the winner of a spanking new $54,000 Audi Q5 SUV. Second prize, $1,200 Cayman Airways ticket voucher. Third prize, $1,000 gift certificate from A.L. Thompson's. Fourth prize, $500 CUC gift voucher. Tickets start at $25. Get 3 tickets for $65. 5 tickets for $100. Your tickets, your chances. The best $25 you will spend this April. Audi raffle proceeds will fund Rotary Sunrise projects. Tickets available online at rotarysunrisecarraffle.com or at A.L. Thompson's this Friday, 2 to 6 p.m. and this Saturday before 2 p.m. The Audi raffle, supported by Rotary Central. Rotary, all the good you imagine.
I'm Michael Webster.
And I'm Denise Brown of Cayman Insurance Center.
Family is not the most important thing, it's everything.
And for 45 years, we have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future.
Whether it's providing top-rated life insurance
or protecting your family's household investment.
From our family to yours, we understand and we care.
I'm Denise Brown. Call me at 814-7229.
And I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
We are Cayman Insurance Center,
specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services at an affordable rate. We are Michael and
Denise at Cayman Insurance Center.
Call today.
Capella Music Festival is back, Saturday, April 29th at the Festival Green at Cayman Bay, featuring a jam-packed lineup of local performers and international stars. UB40, Coffee, Kez the Band, and Leanne Rhymes. Purchase your tickets now at CapellaMusicFestival.com. Brought to you by Cayman Bay, Cayman Airways, Remax, Sandbar, Massive Equipment Rental, the Cayman Islands Department of Tourism.
Business Buzz. Business Buzz with your host, Anita Khan.
11 minutes until 8 o'clock, until we bring you the news. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Business Buzz. I am Anita Khan, and I have in the studio with me from Cayman Drama Society, Bex Robinson, director of the brand new play, musical, Blood Brothers. We have Laura Wallace. Laura is a musical director. She's got her work cut out for her. And Suzi Dickson, who plays Mrs Johnston. So, Suzi.
Yeah.
This is your first time. You're a first-time actress. How do you feel?
Well, you know, Weirdly, I feel absolutely fine at this point because
opening night.
Yeah, exactly. I've never experienced an opening night before, so they might have to scrape me up off the floor at some point. But at the moment, I feel absolutely fine. And the reason that is we're doing so many rehearsals, and Bex and Laura are so on it. And so sort of they make sure we know exactly what we're doing at all times, down to where we walk, how we lift up an arm, how we sing a song, and so we are. The rehearsals are so annoying. No, I mean they. You know, we are well rehearsed and we're getting there. So the more you do something, you sort of become desensitized against it. So I can't, you know, they'll say, "Come on, sing that again, Susie." And it's not like I'm going up there going, "Oh my God, I'm going to sing in front of people." You know, I'm just doing it again and again and again. And when you do it again and again, and you know your lines, and then you know where you're going, and you know when you're picking up a coffee cup, and you know when you're doing all these things, then I just, you know, the nerves the nerves haven't been with me for a very, very long time. And I mean, these two obviously know what it's like before an opening night. Can you do a bit of acting, Susie, and just pull that mic towards you? Oh, yes. Hello. You can move it. It's movable. Gosh, so high tech. So, Susie, is there a particular, without giving away too much, of course, is there a scene in the musical that you particularly enjoyed performing, that you're able to share with our listeners at this time? I think for me, I love the character of Mrs Johnston. You know, she's poor, but she loves fiercely, and she's got a lot of children, and she's really struggling, but she is a good woman. And she's adorable, really. She's just trying to make ends meet at all times. But for me, it's the way she loves her children, and so the scenes that I really, really love are when obviously she gives one twin away and she keeps one, and it's the relationship that she has with the twin that she kept with Mickey, who's played by Simon B. And it's so loving, and it's so, you know, I mean, she smacks his legs. She's a working class, or not even working class sort of mother in the 60s and whatever, in the 70s. She smacks his legs, she tells him off, she pulls him by the ear, she does all these things, but she will hug him fiercely, and the relationship that they have got with each other is just a lovely, lovely thing to see. So for me, it's the scenes when Mickey is 7, because Simon as Mickey, first he's 7, then he's 14, then he goes, what is he, 18, 19, 20?
19 and then 20.
Yeah, so he plays sort of different, as does Eddie. That's the twin that I gave away. So for me, yes, those scenes where Mickey, is 7, and I'm sort of interacting with him as a young lad. So and 7 and 14.
His other brother, Sammy, who's a little older, who's played by Michael, is absolutely... Oh, he's absolutely brilliant. Yes. Oh, he's taken on this role as this older brother. Yes. Yeah. And your relationship also with Sammy is very funny.
So Sammy's funny. I've got loads of kids, but you see Sammy, and Sammy's a wrong un. Sammy's rough, and Sammy's got there's some moments with Sammy that are hilarious, absolutely hilarious, and he's rough, and so he gets clipped around the ear as well. He gets
So do you have any regrets giving away that other twin?
Oh, you have to wait and see.
Good questions.
Very good question. Well, you know, if you had to give a child away, how would you feel? So that's all I'll say. But yes, and she does. She loves hard, Mrs Johnston. It's not like this was an easy decision for her. This was, you have to see, but she was manipulated as well.
So did Mrs. Lyons give you any money to help with the other children?
I have to wait and see.
She's not
giving anything away.
But I nearly told the whole thing.
Yeah, she didn't glibly give this child away, put it that way. She was manipulated. Mrs. Lyons is a much more intelligent character and well-educated character than Mrs. Johnston. Mrs. Johnston is poor, ill-educated. She's superstitious. Mrs. Lyons, played by Michaela Adams, she manipulates Mrs. Johnston, basically, because she can't have a kid of her own. She wants a kid of her own. She wants one of these twins, and Mrs. Johnston is bamboozled, and she sees the opportunity. Yeah.
How many songs in total songs in the musical?
There are, in the score, there's about 38 musical items. So that doesn't necessarily mean everyone is singing in those songs, so it could be underscoring. But it does show that the band have a lot to play. We play pretty much all the way through. There's not very many gaps where there's no music. So for me, doing all of the rehearsals by myself on the piano has been very challenging, but I can say my piano skills have improved. You know,
you couldn't play it at the beginning.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, but there's a big difference in some of the songs. Some of the songs include all of the ensemble, and they're big songs, fun, enjoyable to watch. Some of them are just one person singing by themselves, and then there's some beautiful duets in there as well between the brothers, between Mrs Johnston and Mrs Lyons. So there's sort of a song for every emotion, I think, in this.
Blood Brothers, sounds so exciting. I'm excited for you guys. I'm so excited.
It's so
how do I get tickets?
Well, you can go onto the Cayman Drama Society website, which is www.cds.ky, and follow the links to the shows.
Facebook?
Yeah, that you can follow the links through their Facebook pages or their Instagram pages. But yeah, basically have a Google of Cayman Drama Society and it'll come up and you'll be able to find it very easily online.
So, Suzi, your lines, first time, how did you manage all of that?
Don't even get me started. This is when you sort of think, I'm 48 years old and I can tell I'm 48 years old, you know, like
You've done brilliant. I think at the beginning, learning their lines, everyone just wanted to learn their lines. And that is fine to learn the lines. But once you've learned those lines, now it's the hard work. Because that's when the emotion and the passion and delivering those lines, it's completely different from just learning them. It's a whole another step.
Yes.
In the process of bringing this musical to life. But you did very well. A lot of them learnt them pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was very surprised.
We were very keen. And I think that, you know, maybe that comes from the fact that in this production there are a few of us that have never done it before, so we're little keen beans. We want to be the teacher's pet, Bex. We're your favourite.
Bring all the apples.
Yeah, exactly. I've had a few. I've got a bag.
Yeah. But I mean, for me, what I'm learning is, at the stage we are at now, I mean, my old brain will sometimes forget certain parts of various bits and bobs, but I can sort of improvise and then we'll sort of bounce off each other and keep it moving. It's not, you know, so I'm learning as I go. Like, I don't know, I've never.
Is that allowed, Bex? To improvise?
Well, if they're going to forget them, they've got
to. Something's got to come out.
I have said, you know, you're on stage, and if something happens, you're not going to stand there and go, I forgot my lines. What is it? Or a song, you know, what am I doing? Or you come in wrong. You keep going. Don't worry about it. I think sometimes mistakes are good. Right at the beginning, these mistakes are good, and they're going to happen. But if you know the musical well enough, and you know what you're doing, and you know the person you're acting with, you keep going. No one's going to know. I might at the back, and Laura might. But, you know,
might be sat there going, "That's what's wrong."
Where does that scene come from? But you know, you have to keep going because you do know it.
We do know, and you know, I think I would say right now I know 99% of my lines, which is quite good because we're over a month away.
Yeah, we've still got about 4.5 weeks left.
I'm getting there. It just takes me longer than some of the young.
You always say that. No,
I know I always say that. But.
So, Bex, was it blood, sweat, and tears for you to produce Blood Brothers?
No, do you know, I was thinking this the other day, and I've remained quite calm. There have been a few little things, there always is, but inside I keep thinking I'm really anxious, but it's actually excitement. You know, anxious can become you're excited. I knew when I was going to direct it, especially at CDS, you know, it's not just you directing, as you have to do a lot of other things as well. But we've had a really good team. And I've had Kirsty, the head of the arts director at CDS, is always on call. You know, and we've got Erica, the producer. Actually, everybody, it's been a really lovely, lovely journey. I can't complain. I actually feel pretty excited. There are times where I'm like, oh, here we go. And then I'm like, don't worry about it because things happen. And that was yesterday. And at the moment, we're at the right point that we should be in this musical where we are. But you have to be organised.
Well, let's wait for the reviews.
Yes.
We'll know. Blood Brothers.
Let's wait for the reviews.
Blood Brothers coming up from starting
May 25th.
Okay, May 25th through June 10th.
Yeah.
We have, it's going to be great. Cayman Drama Society.
It is. It's going to be a good one. Yeah. I can feel it's going to be a really exciting show.
Well, I'm going to say congratulations in advance, okay? Congratulations. Production of Blood Brothers, Cayman Drama Society. We're out of time. Bex Robinson, director. Laura Wallace, musical director. Suzi Dickson, who plays Mrs Johnston. Thank you so much. Thanks to our sponsor this morning, Cayman Insurance Center. We're going to take it for a time check and news, weather, traffic. I'll be back with Robert Lynch on the Business Buzz.
Thank you, Anita. And studio time now by Foster's is 8 o'clock.
At Foster's, we have over 70 big deals to help you save more on your groceries.
Just like St. Ives Facial Scrub, 6 ounce, just $4.39, save $2.20. Or locally made boxed meals, 10 ounce, selected varieties, only $8.49, save $2.
And you'll also find a Checo pasta sauce, 400 gram varieties, $3.59, save $1. Head in store for more great specials or shop online with Foster's Go. Foster's, better prices because we care.
Price is good until May 3rd, 2023.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. Lawmakers debated the country's strategic policy statement into the early hours of this morning.
I move, therefore, for the adjournment of this Honorable House until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. 10 a.m. later today, to be specific.
Premier the Honorable Wayne Panton, after hearing contributions from both sides of the House, delivered his right of reply well after midnight. The SPS included highlights of expected economic growth to be 2.3% for this year, a projected unemployment rate of 2.2%, and an operating revenue between 2024 and 26 of more than $3.3 billion. Following this morning's acceptance of the SPS, the government will now prepare its detailed plan and estimates for the 2024-25 budget and accompanying forecasts in the fourth quarter of this year. The House will meet today to deal with the remaining items on this meeting's agenda, including several bills and parliamentary questions. The Speaker asked that they all be in place for continuing work this morning at 10 a.m.
Catch you on the rebound.
You can hear the proceedings live on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM. The governor chaired her first meeting of cabinet this week. This was Her Excellency's first ever official meeting with cabinet, composed of the Honorable Premier, 7 other ministers, and 2 non-voting ex officio members. Also present were the cabinet secretary, the deputy governor, and the attorney general. With the exception of the governor's special responsibilities, cabinet is responsible for formulating and directing the implementation of policy related to every aspect of the government. Speaking of cabinet, the summary from their April 18th meeting, chaired by acting governor at the time, the Honorable Franz Manderson, shows it was a brief one. Cayman's leaders approved the new 7-mile public beach park vendor policy. They also revoked a decision for $5.5 million in supplemental funding for agriculture support regulatory services. However, this appears to be due to an issue with regards to which section of the Public Management and Finance Act the funding was approved under initially. So it was actually re-granted under a different section of the law. They also gave the green light for an additional $438,000 for the management of government properties. They wrapped up the meeting by noting the January through March 2023 financial report. In regional news, police pledged Wednesday to crack down on unrelenting gang violence that has paralyzed areas of Haiti's capital and pleaded with Haitians to end a string of grisly vigilante killings. The appeal came after a crowd on Monday killed at least 13 suspected gang members who police had arrested, with video and pictures shared on social media suggesting that an even greater number since then have died after being stoned or set on fire. A spokesperson for Haiti's National Police said they are mobilized and anti-gang operations will continue, as he urged people to contact police if they see any unusual activity or people they don't recognize in their neighborhoods. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Julie Candler. Diplomatic efforts to secure an extension to the 3-day ceasefire in Sudan are continuing ahead of its expiry tonight. South Sudan says it's trying to convince the rival generals not to resume fighting. Foreign nations are rushing to get their citizens out. China says its navy has evacuated people from 5 other countries. For a second day running, President Erdogan of Turkey has cancelled his election campaign schedule because of ill health. A video link address to open a nuclear power plant has been delayed. China has accused the US of provoking confrontation by strengthening its nuclear weapons commitment to South Korea. President Biden said a North Korean nuclear strike would trigger an overwhelming response. NATO says it's delivered almost all the combat vehicles promised to Ukraine ahead of its expected spring offensive. The alliance said it had trained and equipped 9 new brigades. A fire on a train in Pakistan has killed at least 7 people. It's not clear what caused the blaze on the overnight express from Karachi to Lahore. 11 female MPs in Uganda have been arrested while taking part in a protest march against police brutality. They were trying to deliver a petition at the Internal Affairs Ministry. A former Kazakh police chief who fled house arrest and escaped to Turkey has been extradited. Sadek Kudabayev is accused of failing to act when deadly riots broke out last year. Palestinian officials have accused Ursula von der Leyen of repeating a racist trope in a remark she made about Israel's 75th anniversary. The European Commission president said Israel had made the desert bloom. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com. Are you tired of waiting in long lines at the pharmacy just to fill a prescription?
If what, child, let me tell you.
Well, now you can save time and money with ValueMed's online prescription service. Visit ValueMed's new website, valrx.com, and click the Refill Subscriptions button. Fill in your information and choose your preferred pickup location. Or email your prescription refills for ValueMed Walkers Road at rx-wr@valrx.com, and for ValueMed in Boddentown, email rx-bt@valrx.com. Say goodbye to the hassle of waiting in lines and hello to the convenience of online prescriptions with ValueMed Pharmacy. Visit valrx.com to place your orders today.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store, or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Whether it's routine care or highly complex surgery, when it comes to your health, you want the best. Health City has Cayman's most comprehensive range of in-house medical services. Recognized for quality and excellence, Health City brings together expert doctors, the best technology, and the latest techniques to understand your health and ensure you get the care you need. From Camana Bay to East End, you can trust the team at Health City. Health City, world-class healthcare within your reach.
Attention West Bay residents. The Department of Environmental Health West Bay Bulk Waste Collection will take place between May 1st to the 6th. This bulk waste collection will replace the traditional year-end collection. Household appliances, furniture, and other items too large to be handled by the weekly DEH collection crews should be placed by the roadside where it is easily accessible to DEH collection crews. Metals and vegetation should also be separated from other bulk items. Do not obstruct the roadway or storm drains or place tires, construction and demolition waste, hazardous materials, or electronics. For more information on the West Bay Bulk Waste Collection from May 1st to the 6th, please contact DEH's Solid Waste Management Section at 949-6696.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 82 degrees. Relative humidity is 80%. The barometric pressure is 29.91 inches and steady. The wind is out of the east at 4 knots. Overnight low temperature was 77 degrees. Synopses indicate moderate winds and slight seas are expected to continue across the Cayman area over the next 24 hours as the pressure gradient remains weak across the Caribbean. Satellite images show a few low clouds over the Cayman area. But the forecast for today, calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of afternoon showers, and temperatures today will be in the mid-80s, with a heat index of 95 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going to be a hot day. Winds will be southeast at 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Tonight, fair to partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures falling to the mid-70s tonight. Winds will be east to southeast at 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be smooth with wave heights of less than 2 feet. Expect your low tide this morning at 11:35, high tide this evening at 8 minutes after 5, and a low tide again tonight at 10:40. The sun will set this evening at 6:45 and will rise tomorrow morning at 6. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Saturday morning. That's the very latest on your weather report.
Take some advice from your Aunt Angie. If you want to go scuba diving on your vacation, don't bedazzle your wetsuit. And you think you look great, but what you don't realize is that you look like a shiny, scaly fish. And it won't take long for a shark to notice you. Next thing you know, you're busting out every karate move you got. But if you're smart, you'll have CG medical insurance and get airlifted out to the closest hospital.
Get coverage for emergency evacuations. CG Brit-K. Good like that. All benefits are subject to policy provisions, including eligibility at the time of service.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Brit-K, where people come first.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by Encourse Cayman. Visit encourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. Encourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Achieving our goals is rewarding, but at times can feel frustrating, especially if and when we miss our target. As you approach your goals in life, set yourself up for success.
When setting your goals, keep it positive. The human brain does not work very well in the negative. For example, if told not to think about pink elephants, most people's brains go straight to a pink elephant. When setting goals, focus on what you are doing rather than what you are not going to do. For example, instead of saying to yourself not to go on Facebook, say to yourself that you will study more.
Change your thinking and change your life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by Encourse Cayman. Visit encourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. Encourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. Encourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit encourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. Encourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Top of the morning to you. Once again, we take a look at traffic. Traffic is busy coming from the east just past the Tomlinson roundabout and on the Linford Pearson Highway. And also busy traffic coming off of Bobby Thompson Way. Traffic is busy heading to Georgetown on Cool Road. Eastbound traffic on Cool Road moving on pretty good. And busy traffic coming off of the Linford Pearson Highway on Agnes Way. Slight delays expected. As we turn our eyes to Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue, traffic flowing pretty good. On the West Bay Road in front of the Ritz, on the West Bay Road, traffic is moderate in both directions, as well as coming from the West Bay four-way stop. Owen Roberts Drive traffic flowing pretty good. And that's what's happening on your roads. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12 o'clock. We'll give you another traffic report. And traffic busy coming off of the Esley Tibbetts Highway.
When you're craving something big, something tasty that gives you that lip-smacking satisfaction, something that hits the spot, there is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's pretty tasty.
Filling and full of flavor. Try our new sweet onion steak teriyaki with a twist. Or the classic chicken teriyaki. Top it with green pepper, onions, cheese, and that sweet onion teriyaki sauce. All piled on your favorite artisanal bread. Satisfy that craving with a footlong from Subway.
Fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty.
Let's make it a meal with a drink, chips, and cookies. There is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Anita Khan.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Business Buzz. It's 16 and a half after 8 o'clock. It's been a busy morning here at Radio Cayman, right, Sue? Yes, it's always busy. Now, the Business Buzz will take you up to 9 o'clock. Come 9 o'clock, we'll have the headlines, and Susan's got some sweet music lined up for you on the breakfast session. But in the meantime, I want to say good morning and welcome to our guest in the studio. Our guest is Mr. Robert Lynch. Robert is a media and marketing professional and host of the Wrecking Trade, should I say new?
Yes.
A new radio show that provides a platform for a deeper understanding of the issues which are important to men. What it takes to make a relationship work. What does healthy masculinity looks like for boys and girls? If you want to find out more about masculinity, relationships, and masculine energy, well, listen up. Mr. Lynch is in the studio, and he is in control. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning, Anita. Thank you for having me. And good morning, Susan.
Yeah,
how are you doing
Susan
today?
Is the woman.
She's
holding it down.
Holding it down. She
the
does such an awesome
cameras,
job.
the phone, the door, the board, keeping me in check. So, Robert, for the listeners, I know you. I know you from ICCI. I know you from just being Robert, being in the studio here with us. Now, our listeners, and our viewers, of course, they want to learn more about Robert. So, tell us a bit about you.
All right. Interesting conversation. Figuring out where to start when I share with persons who I am, and what I've come to is I'm actually dyslexic. Right?
You are.
I am.
Like
and
Richard Branson.
And for much of my life, I actually couldn't read.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I realized as I went through that process, I actually went through college without having read a book at all. And graduated from college without having a textbook or owning or writing in a notebook. And what I realized when I was in primary school was, at the time I was growing up, there's certain things that you didn't want to identify as, and being dyslexic or having some kind of mental illness was part of that challenge, because you're going to be branded as many of those words. One of them begins with an R or matter, those things. So you didn't want to be identified as that. So I wouldn't tell people that I was having these challenges. I would be trying to read material and the words would just be all over the place, or I'd get words mixed up and there's this confusion. What I realized though was that I had a superpower. And I found this out quite oddly. After an exam, I was outside with a bunch of other students, and they're talking and saying, "Hey, this was on the exam. We've never seen this. And in my head, I was going, "But we did." And I could remember the day that we went through that material and I could remember what was going on. And so I realized that if I was paying attention, if I listened, I could actually take in a lot more around me than many other people could. And I actually found that trying to write in a notebook and trying to take notes or those things, they were a distraction to me. So from then on, I stopped taking notes in class. I stopped doing the things. I stopped trying to struggle through penmanship and just sat in class and listened or sat around people who had great things to say, and so I could hear from them. And so one of the things I also took away from that is it's very important who you surround yourself with. Your success could be greatly affected by the kind of people you surround yourself with. Since then, I've taken it on myself to try to teach myself a new skill or 2 new skills every single year. Last year, I wanted to teach myself, I tried to understand the cryptocurrency world. And so I actually taught myself coding and wrote and mounted my own cryptocurrency. It's called BOTC, right? And then I also wanted to understand self-publishing. And so I designed my first book. It's called My Prayer and Gratitude Journal. I went through the graphic design and setup and everything, and then mounted it on Amazon KDP, so I'm self-published. And I said, wow, this is really great. I can do this. And so I started another book. I teach communications at the International College. So I started my other book, which is called Communications, or Straight Talk for Communications. And I published that, and I guess I got the publishing bug. And I enjoyed it so much. I actually started my own blog, which can be found at robertnflynch.com, where I share tips and tricks or tools for persons to learn every single day. And as I was going through that process, I don't know if we're going into that yet, but as I was going through that process,
keep talking.
I found something really, really interesting. When I was working on the communications book, I realized that a lot of the tools and the skills that I was looking at that were necessary for success were aligning themselves along the male-female dynamic. And it was helping men to communicate with women. And I was trying to understand what is going on in the world today. Is it that men don't understand women? Is it what's happening? And I found something interesting. As I was doing the research, it challenged many of the thoughts that I had believed for many years about the male-female dynamic and what was happening in our world today. And that has led to this show that we're going to be talking about today, The Wrecking Trade.
The Wrecking Trade. What a name. How did you come up with that name for your show, Robert?
Interesting, right? So, as I was going through, one of the words that phrases that kept popping up for men was toxic masculinity, and I think we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. And I was trying to understand what that meant. And as I was looking at it, I noticed that many of the things that we now call toxic or brand as toxic masculinity, these are things that used to just be masculine back in the day. And so how did they transition from being male and masculine to now being toxic? And the wrecking trade, when I was doing some research, the wrecking trade is actually a time in Cayman history where bravery was celebrated. I mean, ships would try to come in, pass the trench and whatnot, run aground, and so people would be in danger. Goods would be in danger, and the men would go out, swim out, and risk their own lives to save persons and save goods. And so that was a time when these masculine traits were celebrated. And so that's why I use that to kind of connect.
I like that. So you like that? I love it. Yeah.
So this show is an opportunity for us to get back to celebrating being masculine, celebrating being male. We understand that we live in a different world, but we can live in a diverse world where masculinity can be celebrated.
And that's a lot about Robert.
And that's a lot about Robert.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
Now, how much research, how much work goes into preparing for a show such as The Wrecking Trade?
Great question. And this is why. To really have conversations, for me, we have to take the conversation out of just being about feelings, because feelings are this way today and they're a different way tomorrow, and they're different from person to person. Different
especially if you're Pisces.
Especially if you, right? And so, to get a base for the conversation, I really wanted to ground it in statistics and what was going on the ground. What were the generalities that could be seen? Because, I mean, you will have fringes and outliers and those kinds of things. But for the majority to have success, what needed to happen? And those numbers had to make sense. And so there's a lot of research that goes in. And then anything that I talk about, I do mount those supporting research elements on my website on the Wrecking. So that's robertnflynch.com/the Wrecking Trade. So persons can do research and connect so they can understand where I'm coming from. Even if you don't agree with me, even if you don't agree with the things that we talk about, at least they're supporting evidence that says, hey, this is what it is. These are the numbers. Do with it what you will.
All right. Now, Robert, what topics have you covered so far in your show? And can I go back and view those shows, those past shows? Are they archived?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we've only been going for about 3 weeks now, or 4 weeks now. So I have 3 shows. And what I do is we do the show live on Bobo FM. And persons can listen in on the local radio. Then I take those shows and then I mount them on our YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel has had it was just mind-blowing for me how quickly it blew up. So I started the channel, started putting content on the channel about 3 weeks ago. Started with about 10 subscribers. Right now we're at 1,552 subscribers when I checked this morning,
Robert.
with about 16,000 and change views in the time.
Nice.
With the content.
Very good.
I mean, the distribution on the channel is about 71% male to 29% female. So there's a hunger for a space for men to be able to have conversations like these to help themselves to understand what is happening and what does that mean for me going forward.
What's the percentage for women again? 29%.
29%.
29%. Okay. They're peeping to see what the men are looking at.
But interesting, because we do have conversations with women. The conversation is because the core belief is that we must grow together as a society. We can't have one dominating, and it just doesn't work. If we're not moving forward together, then we're not moving forward at all, and we might end up going the way of Japan, as Japan is scheduled to be, a decreasing population, and promising to be down to, or looking to be down to, under 80 million, coming from its high of 128 million. So if we're not careful, we go, we're battle of the genders or battle of the sexes, persons are going to stop getting into relationships, stop having kids. These are the things that are going to happen.
Now, should men in any society reconsider how they treat one another, how they treat women, and how they treat themselves?
I think that's interesting.
You stepped back for this question, did you?
Say again?
I saw you step back for this question.
Yes, and to understand if we should reevaluate how we teach each other, there's a premise that's built into that says something is going on and says that there's someone at fault. Right? That's what I'm taking from it. And so reevaluating how we treat each other suggests that we should possibly do something different, and so the evaluation is going to be, what does that different need to be? And so if I go back to the beginning and go, how is it that we treat each other? Is it that we're intentionally harming each other? Is it that we're damaging each other? Is it that we're fearful of each other? Is it that we're misunderstanding each other? And so for me, I'd reposition the question to, do we, as both genders, need to have a look at ourselves and see, what is it that we want, A, where do you want to get to, B, and how do I get there? And so once I can start with these things, then you can choose, hey, we can choose the path that we want. I'll give you a quick example.
But that's like the great divide.
Exactly. So I'll give you a quick analogy or a story. Many years ago, I had this friend. We were in college. She was in college, and she was in the same program with me at the time, which was information science, and she was working on her degree. She absolutely hated it. She had appreciation for computers, but she hated the degree. What she really wanted to do was to be at home, have a baby, live with her husband, and that's the life that she wanted. She wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, right? But for some reason, she felt pressured, as in there's a societal pressure that says, hey, I've got to go work, I've got to go be the boss, I've got to go do these things. And so she was living in a kind of dissonance. And that dissonance is, what I really want, I don't feel like I can have it because there's pressure to do that. So I say, when we can align ourselves with what we want, where we want to get to, and how we're going to get there, then we can live in our truth. And then we can find people to surround ourselves with that align with that truth. Right? So in our relationship dynamics, sometimes if we're not looking at those things, we may end up getting married to people who harm us because they're of a different mindset. Right? Someone who is more traditional getting married to someone who's more modern is going to be a recipe for conflict. It's not because these people are horrible people.
Yeah,
it's not.
I have to agree with you there, Robert.
It's not because this is just harmful and dangerous. It's because hey, you try to put two things together that don't fit. It's just not going to work.
And on that note, we have to take a break. If you're just joining us, you're listening to what's left of the Business Buzz, our second segment this morning. We have in the studio talking about his latest radio show, The Wreck and Trade, Mr. Robert Lynch. Thanks to our sponsor this morning, Cayman Insurance Center.
I'm Michael Webster.
And I'm Denise Brown of Cayman Insurance Center.
Family is not the most important thing, it's everything.
And for 45 years, we have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future.
Whether it's providing top-rated life insurance
or protecting your family's household investment.
From our family to yours, we understand and we care.
I'm Denise Brown. Call me at 814-7229.
And I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
We are Cayman Insurance Center,
specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services at an affordable rate. We are Michael and
Denise at Cayman Insurance Center.
Call today.
It's time to celebrate 40 years of Cayman Carnival Batabanoo. 40 years of tradition, culture, making history. Experience the rhythm, the energy, the excitement of Batabanoo under the theme All Nations, One Celebration. On Saturday, May 6th, celebrate Cayman Islands, Honduras, Jamaica, India, Cuba, Panama, Mexico, Trinidad, and the U.S. through music, dance, and stunning costumes. The parade starts at 1 p.m. from 7 Mile Public Beach and ends at Seafarers Way, Georgetown. For the food festival and the last lap street dance with 3 music stages to enjoy. Cayman Carnival Batabanoo, Saturday, May 6th, starting at 1 p.m. from 7 Mile Beach. Join us celebrating 40 years of a colorful melting pot of nations. Visit CaymanCarnival.com for more information.
The Department of Agriculture would like to inform the public that animal-related import-export services contact hours have changed. For all animal-related travel inquiries, permit application process, and in-person visitations, visit doa.gov.ky or their Facebook or Instagram page at Agriculture Cayman to view the new hours. Call 947-3090 for more information.
Anita Khan.
Welcome back to the Business Buzz. In the studio, we have Mr. Robert Lynch. Robert, he has his brand new radio show in Bobo.
Yes.
And it's called The Wreck and Trade.
Also available on YouTube.
Okay. And we just love talking about other stations, and we just love to do that.
And
Robert.
that's what I love about Radio Cayman.
Yeah.
We're impartial.
That's right. No, Robert, we know that men are expected to be tough.
Yes.
You agree?
Yes.
Okay. Men are told to man up, grin and bear it.
Yes.
Don't cry. I'm going to slap you, silly. Don't show any emotion. What are your thoughts on all that?
I think it's an interesting conversation to have because one of the things I've come to realize that anything worth doing requires strain or stress. If I want to have a decent physique, that means I have to go to the gym. And what do they say? No pain, no gain. Right? If I want to develop a business, I have to go through sleepless nights. There are a lot of things that you have to invest in. You know your job. To be good at your job, you can't just get up and, just do it. One of the things that helps me to keep going is this thing I learned in primary school. And this, I'm trying to remember it now. The heights that great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, were toiling upwards through the night. So work, challenge, helps to form us into diamonds. Pressure makes diamonds, right? And so, especially as men, one of the things I do believe is that we need challenge in order to refine our muscles, to give us strength, to strengthen us. I mean, we're certainly not talking about harming each other, but we are talking about putting each other in situations, or putting our children in situations that helps to prepare them for the time when we're not going to be around. Wrapping them in bubble wrap will not keep them safe, because I won't be there with them. I have a son, he's 3 years old. I have a daughter, she's going to be 2 in a couple of months. And I am very aware that I can't be with them for the rest of their lives. I won't be with them in every single situation. So rather than trying to protect them or wrap them, what I have to do is to teach them how to be successful and to keep themselves safe when I'm not around.
Teaching your children.
Teaching your children. So even to tapping into emotions. One of the things that men have had to do since the beginning of time is to understand that we're emotional. Sometimes we have this conversation that says men are logical and women are emotional. No, we're human beings. We're all emotional. We're all emotional. Men have had to learn, though, how to manage those emotions a lot more. Going all the way back in time. Hey, am I scared? Yes, I am. We need to go out there and hunt buffalo because the family, the village, we need food. The wives, the ladies are pregnant, and we need to make sure that they have food to eat so that we can continue our race, right? Continue or keep our village alive. So we had to take that fear, put it aside, and go, hey, let's get together and hunt this food so that we can. And guess what? Some of us died doing that. But we understood that that's what was necessary. In World War II, we had 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds. These men had to get up, get into a boat. Some of them were, the documentary is available on Netflix. When you're watching them, they're scared. But they know that to keep our world safe from this tyrant, we have to stand up and do something.
But women could have killed buffaloes too, right? We just weren't given the chance.
We just weren't given the chance? Why do you say that?
Because men, we women say, well, men must go out and do this. But the women could have done it too, I'm sure.
That's an interesting thing.
I'm sure they were never given the opportunity.
That's an interesting thing to say, because one of the things that appears is that, look at the two of us right here. There's a natural physical difference between the two of us. So
I can make babies and you can't.
Exactly. You can do that, and I do not have that
But
skill.
I don't mean that you can kill a buffalo and I can't.
Why not? If my physicality is stronger than yours, then, and here's the thing, certainly you can figure out a way to kill buffalo, but is it efficient? Is it efficient for you to go out and hunt buffalo? Or let me say it another way. Two of us, you and your husband, you're at home, or, let's just use the studio. You're here, Susanna's here. Someone's breaking into the studio to try to kill us all. And I'm hiding in the back while both of you are trying to defend us. How does that make you feel and think? Or let me make it even personal. You are laying in bed with your husband, and there's a knock on the door, and someone's trying to break in, and he says to you, honey, I'm scared.
Well, I'll protect him.
We say these things, but we realize deep
for
down
right now,
we
you
recognize.
can just kill the spider.
we recognize deep down that, guess what? There are expectations of men. We do have these expectations because guess what? Yeah. If he says that to you, even in this feminist era, in this modern era, you're still going to look at him differently. You're going to go, I don't feel safe around you, because a woman still needs to be safe, feel safe around the men that she's with.
No, that's not fair these days.
It's not fair?
No, because I think women, well, some women at least, would say, look, I can protect you as well, especially if I've done some taekwondo and stuff. I can protect you, without even thinking, well, you're a wuss or anything like that.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Because the statistics are not saying that. The research I'm reading.
They're wrong.
The research that I'm looking at says that, as a society, we're looking at equality. We're looking at getting into these things, and what it's actually leading to is two interesting things. Those two interesting things are women are less happy than they've been historically, even though they have more freedoms.
Well, women are always we're always miserable. But on that note,
even
Robert,
though they've had more freedoms than they've had historically.
Well, okay. But men have feelings too.
Yes.
right? We see that. We know that.
Yes.
So how are they able to channel those feelings, let's say through mindfulness, self-respect, and outward respect, and learning to live a better life and survive whatever they are going through? I mean, we know as women, men have feelings, but we like to say, no, he's good, We do that.
Yes.
And it's not fair.
It's not fair.
But how do you feel about all that?
And again, going along the same conversation, how do we create spaces that allows everyone to feel heard and listened to and to actually be themselves, to have congruence in their life? And that thought is understanding that men have feelings, understand that men have responsibilities. We're able to compartmentalize, to put those feelings in a box and go, hey, I'll deal with that a little bit. Right now we need to go hunt buffalo, we need to go provide for the family, we need to do what it is that we need to do. These things are still in men. One of the things that's happened over the last 60 years is that the representation of the strong woman has shifted in the media over the last 50 years. So going from the mother who's at home taking care of the kids to anything that she wants to be. You're seeing different shapes and sizes of women on the cover of magazines now and in media. But for some reason, the image of man has stayed the same. The ideal man is still a strong, confident man who is in charge, in control, and can manage these things. And so we still expect those things of men. Part of the challenge, though, is that as women become more advanced in the workforce, become more educated, become higher earners, then I was reading a report just as I was preparing for this presentation that told me, hey, guess what? Guess what's happening as we develop more of those aggressive skills, as we develop more of those success-driven skills, right? And the report said, I'll just give you a quick read. We've known for a while that testosterone is associated with aggressive behavior. We know that in men, yes? But a fascinating new experience reveals that these hormones are a two-way street. Simply acting aggressive can also raise testosterone levels in both men and women, right? So as we are homogenizing the races, we're bringing both men and women in the same space. That means what we're doing is men are becoming more feminine because we've told them that being the things that are being masculine, sharing aggression, these kinds of things, they're wrong, and so we're lowering their testosterone. And women, hey, we need to be bosses, we need to be more aggressive, we need to be in the field, and so their testosterone is rising. Right?
Robert, we need a lot of time to discuss all of this, but toxic masculinity.
Yes. Don't believe in it at all.
Tell me
don't
what it's
subscribe
about.
to that concept at all.
And I'll for tell that person who's listening and don't know what toxic masculinity is about.
So let me tell you where I come down with this, right? There are many roles that we've seen traditionally as masculine that for some reason now we've painted them as toxic, and I'll tell you why I don't subscribe to this thought. You've never heard anyone say toxic fire. We understand that fire can hurt you. We understand that fire can damage you. We understand that these things can happen. But rather than painting fire as toxic, what we've learned to do is to control it, to manage it, to use it, to make wonderful meals when you go to some of these restaurants. Right? So the same way, there are things that are necessary for us as men. They're biological. They're a part of us. Testosterone is something that's inside of us. And if that leads to aggression, the goal is not to go, hey, kill it, subdue it, throw it away. The goal is to go, how do I manage these things to make sure I'm using them in the appropriate area? So when I'm getting at that business, when I'm out on the football field, when I'm doing these things, I can play these things out so that it can lead me to success. But when I get home, I can be tender with my wife. I can make sure that I'm being loving with my children. I can make sure that I'm not just being the provider and the protector, but also the priest that shows them what they need to be. And so the idea for men is not to stop being men. The idea for men is to learn how to be more complete as men, understanding all facets of themselves, appreciating those things, and then channeling them appropriately.
Boy, I love that. You want to repeat that? No, I'm just kidding. We have to take a quick break. Thanks to our sponsor this morning, Cayman Insurance Center. And our guest in the studio is Mr. Robert Lynch, and he's got, in case you missed it, he's got a brand new radio show. Everybody's got a brand new radio show these days. Well, congratulations, Robert. I haven't got a chance to listen, but I will especially since I had you in the buzz. Robert's got a brand new show on Bobo FM. Is that right?
That's
Bobo
right.
FM.
That's right. And
Bobo
on YouTube.
On YouTube, right? It's called The Wreck and Trade. To that, we're going to take a quick break.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
Hey moms and dads, get the whole family to lace up your shoes and join us for our annual Deputy Governor's 5K Run Walk Challenge. Whether you're a seasoned runner or just looking for a fun, healthy family activity, this event is for you. Join us April 30 in Grand Cayman. Do something good for your body and have fun while supporting our local community. Proceeds benefit Loud Silent Voices, the Cayman Islands Red Cross, and the United Against Bullying Foundation. The DG's 5K could not happen without support from our platinum sponsor, Applebee, and gold sponsors, Butterfield Credit Union, DART, Davenport Development, EY, and our halfway point sponsor, Cynical. $25 for adults and $10 for kids 17 and under. Register at www.racecaribbean.net. Don't miss out on this opportunity to have fun, get fit, and support our community. See you at the start line.
Capella Music Festival is back, Saturday, April 29th at the Festival Green at Cayman Bay, featuring a jam-packed lineup of local performers and international stars. UB40, Coffee, Kez the Band, and Leanne Rhymes. Purchase your tickets now at CapellaMusicFestival.com. Brought to you by Cayman Bay, Cayman Airways, Remax, Sandbar, Massive Equipment Rental, the Cayman Islands Department of Tourism.
Business Buzz. Business Buzz with your host, Anita Khan.
Toxic masculinity is not exactly business, but it's a business of the day because Robert's got a new show.
That's right.
And Robert, how do you market your show? Just a quick thing on that.
So, interesting thought, and I guess I try to use the recipe for success for many other persons who are putting out in this space, and so I try to interview interesting people, right? And I try to interview interesting people that will bring controversy, yes, some of that to the show, but also interesting viewpoints, the things that you won't hear on every other podcast, on every day. I try to invite beautiful women and strong men, right? So that we can create a model for young boys and girls to see and to look at and to go, oh, okay, I can aspire to this. And one of our core messages is, even to young men, don't get distracted by everything else that is going on. Same thing to young women. Don't get distracted by what you see in front of you. Going back to the core message of think about what you want. Think about where you want to get to and to focus on getting there. And so we market the show by trying to add value to persons' lives. And so right away, getting both on the local radio station and putting it out on YouTube, and then sharing it in different groups, both on WhatsApp, both on Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever persons may find this content. And we found it to be very successful. As I mentioned earlier, in the last 3 weeks, we've gone from 10 subscribers to 1,500 subscribers and over 16,000 views already. So.
And you're marketing right here on Radio Cayman.
And we're marketing right here on Radio Cayman. So I love the synergies that we're able to create.
Oh, gosh. How can we prevent, going back to that toxic masculinity, Robert, how can we prevent that? How can that be prevented?
So as I mentioned before, I don't subscribe to that thought about what toxic masculinity is.
No, I like how you answered. That's why I'm asking you a second time.
Appreciate that. And so the idea is, again, going back to the core. Who am I? What do I want to be? And how do I get there? And how do I surround myself with people who are on the same path with me? And so to create those kinds of spaces where we can be fully ourselves. So whether it is mentorship, getting into men's groups. So one of the things I do try to do once a month, my friend and I, we get together and we bring men together. And we sit down, we have conversations. We talk about where we want to go, where we're going. And then we're able to share a network and help to support each other.
Is it a network that you able to share with a number or something that so people can reach out to you?
Sure. 324-9000, 324-9000.
Not so fast, Robert.
324-9000. Again, 324-9000. And we can have a conversation to see how we can get boys and men on the path to success and greatness. And one of the core things that we're talking about is helping young men to navigate away from the current hookup culture and the current quick money, fast ideas to connecting with strong men, connecting around the success that they want to see so that they can position themselves for that kind of success in their own lives in the future.
I'm surprised we don't have a caller yet. Some of the guys who are listening and say, Robert, you are the man. Hashtag Me Too movement. How has that affected men and women in the workplace? Your take on that?
This one is very interesting and also very controversial. Because the challenge is you're dealing with real feelings, you're dealing with real outcomes, you're dealing with real harm, right? So if a woman does find herself in a situation where she has been hurt, where she has been violated, that, of course, is never acceptable under any kind of conditions. We never support that, right? So, well, one of the things that we also have to be mindful of is how our interactions affect each other. And so in an effort to compensate or manage or to prevent things, we may find ourselves in a situation where we will put up guardrails or put up, what do you call these things, bars. And those bars are going to limit the amount of interaction that we can. So let's look at it this way. In the workplace, one of the things that is coming out in the data is that the Me Too movement has impacted how men and women interact.
Right.
That's just a fact, right? And the facts of those, and we can say whatever we do want to say about those statistics. What we will have happen is men would be less likely to approach women in those situations. And you may even find situations where men are less likely to hire women. Those are coming out because, hey, this is going to put me at risk. I've heard even in the medical field, you now have to put a male doctor and a female nurse to make sure that you're managing for these kinds of situations. And this, of course, becomes even more expensive, becomes more costly. And so persons are evaluating these things and go, okay, fine. What's the best method? Okay, maybe women doctors only treat women, women doctors and nurses only treat women, and men only treat men. And so there's a whole redesign of society that may be necessary in order for this to make sense. But as it stands right now, we've reached an untenable situation where it's not necessarily helping us as a society. We do want to make sure that women feel protected, feel safe, but the current model is not the one.
I like your take on that. According to a GLA conservation group study, some 96% of sexual crimes against men go unreported, and they don't report it until it becomes a crisis. What are some reasons male domestic abuse victims do not report the abuse?
That's a really, I love the question. I love the research that you put into, having this
Thanks,
conversation.
Susan.
I love the work that you do, Susan. I appreciate
the
you.
GLA conservation group study.
So here's the situation. I'm actually working on my third book, which is going to be a manual for men to help them to go, how do I become a high value man, to make sure that you're being attractive to the opposite gender and to make sure that you can find success in the modern world. And part of that, as doing the research for that, is I've always thought, as you think about domestic violence, you think automatically, hey, that's a man perpetrating some kind of crime against a woman, right? And the thought was, that's an automatic thought. Where did that thought come from? Because when I did the research, the numbers didn't actually support that. The numbers for the reported cases are actually somewhere around the lines of 33% for women, but 25% for males. So the numbers are pretty close as it comes to gender. And then you're adding to that 95% of the cases are not reported. So what that would translate mathematically is that men are finding themselves in gender violence situations in higher in higher numbers than women, but they're going unreported. And so why is it then that we live in a world where there's a whole host of systems in place to protect women, but then none of those things are in place for men? None of those safe spaces where men can go, none of those safe places are there, or rarely, if any, none of those safe places are there for men if they find themselves in this situation. So to answer your question, why is it that men are not why is it that these cases are not reported for men? Because we don't respect and appreciate these situations are happening as a human condition. We don't appreciate that violence is a human attack. It's another human attacking another human. And humans who are unable to find themselves in healthy spaces, find themselves to learn how to manage their emotions, are going to attack and harm other human beings. And so the goal is to help humans to manage themselves, conduct themselves in a way where they're not led untethered by their emotions to just react and cause harm. And so to help men, that means we have to have a conversation with both men and women. When a man walks in and goes, hey, my wife is beating me, he gets laughed at. Right? Or, or even in the workplace, going back to the Me Too movement, if a man says, hey, my boss is a woman, she is harassing me, again, he gets laughed at. My youth, right? And this happens.
You don't know what to do about that.
And this happens both men and women.
Yeah.
He's laughed at by both men and women. And so how do we create safe spaces for both men and women in the workplace, in our world, so that whatever is happening that is causing harm to you, whether you're a man or a woman, you feel comfortable to be able to share that. And so you can get the help that you need.
I'll tell you what, if we have a lot more passionate men like you on this subject, Robert, we'll be way ahead of the game. Way ahead. And on that note, what would you say are the most pressing societal issues facing men here generally and around the world?
Here.
Well, let's deal with Cayman.
Yes.
The Cayman Islands.
Because
you've done the research.
Yes. Cayman is an interesting place because one of the things around the world, poverty exists, and as persons are in those different situations, they have different problems. But as societies become more affluent, they have what we call rich people problems. Right? And in the Cayman Islands, women are very educated, women are earning, very empowered, women are earning a lot. And so what you do have is that kind of clash in the space I told you earlier about as women take on more of those traditionally masculine roles, then that increases their testosterone levels. And what happens is, in many of our relationships, we have competition instead of complementing. And so one of the greatest issues affecting us in our current age is to try to understand how do we create those safe spaces. It's become quite normal for women to go, I don't need no man, right? I can take care of myself. I don't need no man.
I can buy myself flowers.
I can do those things. And these things are just normal and okay. But I'll tell you this, I need women, right? I need you, Anita. I need you, Susan, because in a world where we're all isolated and we're all trying to be islands, we're sending the wrong message to our children. The factors that have been tested and proven is that the more we create those kinds of environment, they negatively impact our children and their capacity to make those human connections later on, to accomplish peer bonding. Right? It also impacts them along financial. One of the statistics that I cover is before the 1960s, single mother households were about 22%, right? Right now, we've gone above 68%. So 68% of our children are growing up in households that are led by single mothers. What is that what is that translating to? It's translating to lesser peer bonding. So attachment challenges. It's translating to financial challenges. Children who grow up in these kinds of environment are projected to have less education and less financial success in their lives, as well as so we've talked about education, human connection, and finances. And these are three things and so the translation to that is we're going to have less stronger relationships, which then filters into the next generation of, hey, children are going to be challenged, more divorces, our whole societal fabric breaks down. Quick example, if we understand that we're building blocks, those are our family units, and those blocks are weaker now. if we're using those blocks to build houses, that house will crumble.
Mm-hmm. You're damn right about that.
So our society is crumbling because the families.
Robert, this makes for hot topic on wrecking trade, I'm sure.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. We do get heated, but the idea is to make sure that we're having the conversations in a way that allows persons to be able to appreciate and understand and to learn from it. You get information, do with it what you will. My goal is to help persons to see that and to make the best decision for themselves and for the children.
And this all leads up to, let's talk about men's mental health. Do we have time for that? No, it's only we got a minute, Susan. So this is going to be a topic for another day.
Maybe we have to come back and just keep the conversation going. Because we need more spaces for men to be able to express themselves in this way, to be able to stand up as men and go, hey, I'm a man. And it's okay. And it's okay for women to be bosses and to be all that they can be. We're understanding, though, that actions have consequences. And so as women increase in their financial situations, guess what's happening? Then that means they're going to outpace men, and men are going to become less attractive to them. So my message to men is we need to improve ourselves. We need to step up our game, and so that we can be the men that we were designed to be.
That's right. Amen to that, Robert. You've got 5 seconds to promote your show.
All right. So the Wrecking Trade is on Bobo on Wednesdays at 10:30. We run from 10:30 to 12 o'clock. You can also catch the rebroadcast on YouTube. Next Wednesday, we start broadcasting live, so there'll be video in the studio, and so you're able to see the conversation and interact with us live in chat. Just come on out and support. We want to hear your voice, and we want to hear the voices of both men and women, because this conversation doesn't work if it's only being had on one side.
Thank you, Robert. Robert Lynch, Wreck and Trade. Thanks to our sponsor this morning, Cayman Insurance Center. Thanks to our guests, of course, in the studio from Cayman Drama Society. And Robert, Susan, thank you so much for putting the Business Buzz together. Until Tuesday, May 2nd, when we bring you another buzz. Please stay safe. Have a great day. For me, Anita Khan, goodbye.
Radio Cayman.
The voice.
The heart. The soul of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
Lawmakers debated the country's strategic policy statement into the early hours this morning and are set to resume at 10 a.m. to deal with remaining items